Hi, my name's Stephanie, and I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar today, Is It Possible to Build an Amazon-like Experience of IT? A few quick notes before we start. Your phone lines are muted today, so if you have any questions, please use the chat panel at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. When you enter the questions, please address them to all participants or all speakers. That way it is much easier for me to field those questions and assign them as the webinar continues. Also, Jeff will be giving a demo later on, and to be able to view this in the most detail, you may want to go to full screen mode. And lastly, I am recording this event today, so you will receive a recording along with a link to download the slides no later than close of business tomorrow. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Don Casson, CEO of Evergreen. Don?
Thank you, Stephanie. Hello all, and thanks for joining us. I'm Don Casson, CEO of Evergreen, and I should move the first slide. And with me today is Jeff Benedict, who heads up Evergreen's ITSM Practice, as well as our innovation efforts. If you're new to our webinar series, welcome. If you're a past attendee, thanks for joining us again. Our goal, as always, is to share valuable information and insights you can use in your planning and activities right now. The topic we will explore today is it possible to build an Amazon-like experience of IT? I'm jazzed about this topic for two reasons. First, Amazon has created the world's best complete customer experience. And second, we can creatively borrow from them 24/7. So here's our agenda. After a very little bit about Evergreen, we'll dive into the topic. Beyond that, we'll briefly demonstrate some of the concepts discussed in our always evolving view of a very advanced self-service portal and catalog experience built on ServiceNow. Then we'll answer some questions if you have any. I would like to make one point as a note. We are going to cover a lot of things at a pretty high level today. Any topical area or anything we cover that you have more interest in, I can absolutely guarantee you there are multiple webinars on our resources page at Evergreen that go to much greater depth if you're interested in it. So feel free to go there and look. So Evergreen is a U.S.-based consulting firm, and we've worked with hundreds of mid-market, Fortune 1000 companies and public sector organizations to improve their IT service management execution. Over the past 19 years, believe it or not, we've delivered more than 4,000 ITSM projects. We are a full lifecycle firm, meaning we have both process and consulting in the same company. We are also only one of a few top-tier or gold U.S. ServiceNow partners, and since we develop solutions on the platform, we're also one of the few partners that gets very early access to upcoming ServiceNow releases. As we work with clients across the U.S., here's the number one problem they tell us they have. They can't meet their ServiceNow demand. And here's what they say about it. It exceeds our resources, but it can have peaks and valleys too. Skilled resources are scarce. It takes 6 months to become capable, and then they might get hired away. Also, we may not have a lot of developers or a true solution architect to lead us. And when our people need help, where can they turn? How do we even know if we're doing the right things? Last, even with expensive consultants like Evergreen, contracts, task orders, and invoicing are a lot of work. We educate them on our business, and then they're gone. This is how most try to handle this problem. A core internal ServiceNow team augmented by outside consultants on a project-by-project basis with possible offshore technical support. We're so used to doing it this way, maybe we don't even stop to think how hard and inefficient this can be. We created Evergreen Evolve to fix this. It's a new way of delivering services to meet your ServiceNow demand. Evergreen Evolve is flexible, expertise on demand delivered by our global workforce of senior, implementation-certified ServiceNow experts. We don't hire juniors. We hire the best, pay them well, keep our overhead razor thin, and have a single lean management structure, only one Evergreen worldwide. This keeps our people happy, so we have a lot less turnover. Our competitors can have 20 to 30% turnover. Ours is less than 5%. You also get a dedicated U.S. thought leadership in your account or engagement managers and our senior solutions architects, either part or full-time, matched with your need, who work closely with our offshore team of dedicated senior developers. These skilled resources are backed by all of Evergreen, as well as the strength of our position as a ServiceNow Gold Partner and Certified Development Partner. This combines to give you one contract and a dedicated team that works with your team, augments your team to create a single service solution if that's what you want. Best of all, it is more affordable, probably, than what you're doing today, with average rates from $65 to $110 per hour for all this work. Okay, here we go. If we want to use Amazon as a model to help us, here are some of the questions we're going to address today. How do we design it? What are the best practices? What do our customers want and need? And how do we manage it? Amazon created the modern customer experience. Looking back on it, it's quite amazing. They are the highest rated customer service retailer in the world, above Nordstrom and Costco, and we cannot talk to them. Only in hindsight can we understand it. Here's some keys to Amazon's formula. They invented and are the masters of the complete self-service customer experience. We can't call customer service because we don't need to. So the greatest customer service is the one we never have to call. No one needs to teach us how to use Amazon. The Amazon process teaches us as we use it. One big key to this is absolutely standardized processes across the enterprise. Whether you're buying detergent or a washing machine, everyone follows the same exact processes so you get a singular customer experience. The same process approach engineers in consistent, high quality, so it's automatic. They have amazing governance. In parentheses, getting everyone executing in the same way, and they have it built into the work so it happens automatically. They combine beautiful self-service with lights-out automation. No one has to do anything until your order is loaded onto the truck. In ServiceNow, the CMS is a foundational technology layer that provides customer interaction across all the ServiceNow applications. This year, ServiceNow replaced their 10-year-old CMS tools with a modern set. It's kind of like replacing the second story of a 3-story house. It's a lot of work. Service Portal is a modern toolkit that can enable you to build beautiful, customer-centric experiences. So for those of us trying to provide a better customer-centric service experience, this is the big question for us. Is Service Portal a service catalog solution? And the answer is no. It wasn't intended to be. It was intended to be a modern platform upon which better solutions can be built. But it in itself is not a solution. You still need to know what to do with it. The magic of Amazon is in the complete end-to-end customer experience. To break that down today, we're going to consider it from 3 perspectives, which we call the 3 constituents of a service: the customers, the providers, and the managers. All must be involved and have their needs met to create good services. The customer wants an excellent customer experience, and to deliver that, we must think like the customer and design from the customer in, not IT out, or they will reject it. The provider wants execution effectiveness. If we don't build in a way that it makes them more efficient and effective, then they won't support the change with the customers, and they'll work around the system. The manager wants governance and accountability. Without these, we cannot build and deliver a consistent portfolio of high-quality services enterprise-wide. So, when we begin to think from the customer in, this is a good place to start. What do they want? They really only want 2 things. They want a great customer experience, and they want us to meet our promises. And you can see Amazon right here, simply the scoring of the customer quality and meeting delivery commitments. So let's dive a little deeper into the needs of a customer. When we studied Amazon's customer experience, we discovered 5 principles at work underneath the covers. They are simple, beautiful, complete, predictive, and leading. Simple means just that, not hard to understand or do. Having few parts, not complex or fancy. This is how people shop on Amazon. They type in what they're looking for. While any given screen or the entire service experience end-to-end may have a lot of details, simple means eliminating every word, button, graphic, or item of any sort that is not totally and directly related to the customer's needs in understanding, choosing, and using the service. Then the customer will see it as simple. So here's some key advice for us in IT. Don't make the customer do our work. A common problem in IT is to give the customer our problem. A 3-page PDF with a statement that says email us at the bottom is not really a very good service. Why ask the customer to provide information we can get without asking them? And a lot of times we can. It may take more work on our part, but that's what's required. Beautiful. Well, beauty is a quality and a thing that gives pleasure to the senses, mind, or spirit. And since there's no universal definition of beauty, it's in the eye of the beholder, how can we possibly please everyone? Well, we can't. So while we strive to make every step in screen beautiful by following our principles, the higher order goal is to make the experience beautiful. By now, we've all heard of Amazon Echo, which is their digital personal assistant. I just got one a couple weeks ago, and it's masking as a wireless stereo. Lots have tried to create this with varying degrees of success, but apparently Amazon has gotten it right. I don't think that should be much of a surprise from the masters of the customer experience. Complete is having all the necessary parts not lacking or limited in any way. Everything the customer needs to understand, choose, and use the services there arranged to facilitate the process. Building the complete experience for a service means two things. One, for every page or given landing area, the experience is complete. Everything you need is there. It has complete thought out from the customer's perspective. And then for every step, start to finish, the experience is complete end to end. This is hard for IT to do well because of the way the work is organized in silos today. If the service requires passing through several silos of IT, as it often will, the handoffs between silos may not be smooth. The tools to process the work in each silo are different, and there may be redundant requests of the customer to provide data. There may even be different cultural perspectives on what a customer is and what quality of service is supposed to be. To be successful, every service experience must be engineered to be complete. Predictive is to foretell based on observation or experience. Predictive goes hand in hand with complete. Predictive takes it one step further, introducing possibilities the customer is likely to want along with the ability to easily explore them. Predictive is that little surprise that pleases the customer. I'm a stereo guy. Here I'm shopping for a Bluetooth adapter. So I like this one from Logitech. So Amazon is being predictive and showing me some cables I will probably need, and then showing me what other customers bought along with the adapter. That's smart. Leading is to guide something or someone along the way. Leading is ensuring you're linking each step on the service path to the next, with a complete service end to end. Here are the steps Amazon is leading me through. After understanding the item has the function I want, I can go to reviews to see if it's the quality I like, and I can go look at the FAQ to answer any further questions I might have, like, does this work with my stereo system? Once I place the item in the shopping cart and click to buy, only then do I need to sign in. Smart ordering of what they're asking me to do. Definitely thinking about my experience as a customer. Then I can quickly choose shipping, gift, and payment options to go from cart to purchase as easily and quickly as possible, which also is good for them. Beyond that, it's also about taking the customer somewhere you want them to go, like signing up for the company's new BYOD support offering, assuming you make it worth the customer's while, or a new single sign-on capability. Better for them, and maybe better for IT too. So what do you need to do? Start by building a beautiful customer service portal. Well, that's actually pretty easy. We've already built it. It's the Evergreen Self-Service Portal and Catalog solution on ServiceNow's Service Store, and it's built on the Service Portal. It's inexpensive, and you can buy it right there and use it. Your initial self-service portal and catalog can be operational in as little as a month. Now, not to sound too much like a commercial, I would say beware. Building a beautiful front door is the easy part. delivering an enterprise portfolio of consistent, high-quality services that your customers will love and use. That's the hard part. So let's look a little deeper into the needs of the provider. Here are some key things which must be in place for the provider to deliver an Amazon-like experience. They are a standard service design process, a service taxonomy, and the ability to combine self-service and automation. Service Portal gives you the ability to create new requests and supporting workflows easily and quickly. It's a powerful capability, but that can also create a problem. You can quickly build hundreds of requests and services, all with unique look and feel. Your customers won't like that. Remember Amazon, as customers, we love the fact that it's a consistent end-to-end customer experience every single time. Your customers will expect the same. To do this, we need a clear, prescriptive service design process all the providers can follow. Here's an example above is the Evergreen service design process, which we put into our Service Portal and Catalog, which then easily flows into a consistent and complete service and request presentation on the right-hand side that your customers see. Consistent service design process yields consistent customer experience. Anyone can manage 10 services, but what about 100 or 300? For that, we need a way to organize lots of services. We need what's called a taxonomy. A taxonomy is a way to organize lots of things. ITIL doesn't really have a concept of a taxonomy, so we had to look elsewhere, like the Dewey Decimal System, which is used in libraries. To meet the challenge of hundreds of services, we extend Service Portal with a visual service taxonomy model we created that works for both the customers and the providers. Once a taxonomy is built, we can import it right into the Service Portal and Catalog. If we are looking at an IT service catalog, for example, on the upper right-hand side, you can see 6 categories of IT services. And if we drill into a category, in this case business applications, you see 9 subcategories of business applications. While we don't show it here, if we were to drill down one further level, deeper into finance, for example, we would then see 5 financial services. A good service taxonomy equally benefits the customers and the providers. So here is a whole lot of the magic of Amazon. It is combining a beautiful self-service experience with automation. The customer loves the experience, and the work of the provider is automated. To do this successfully, we have to think a little differently. We have to give our customers less choices rather than more. We have to make it easier for them to choose between a few alternatives quickly. That actually makes them happier, why we call it happy mealing. If they don't see what they need in our 3 to 5 choices, we also want to make it easier for them to request other quickly and fill out whatever that might be. Only then, after we have this done, can we automate. Because automation is hard work. It takes a fair amount of work. So we need to have a good volume of the exact same request to make it worthwhile, to make that investment in automation. And that comes from the power of this Happy Meal funneling. So you might ask, how do we know which services to do this for? The Pareto principle tells us that 80% of the value is in 20% of the work. And I have generally found it's pretty much always true in IT as well. We can look at the demand from our customers and see where 3 or 4 pre-built choices in a given area would meet 80% of the needs. Then we can harness the power of customer self-service, a beautiful self-service experience, plus lights out automation to make our customers happy and dramatically reduce the work of IT. At Evergreen, we have built any number of these exact kind of solutions that run lights out. Let's look a little deeper into the needs of the manager. Here are some key things which must be in place for the managers to deliver an Amazon-like experience. They are governance, quality of service, and service ownership. Everyone sighs when I mention governance because it feels like a heavy load of overhead. But that is actually the opposite of good governance. Good governance is actually lightweight. It provides clear it provides clear decision-making direction to the people actually doing the work, so they don't have to ask for guidance or approval. It's actually much more efficient. Consider the IRS. They don't have time to call 200 million Americans and remind us to file our taxes. 95% of us do it ourselves because of governance. But for the other 5%, they definitely have time to call. So good service governance, chartered from the top, is required to offer an enterprise-wide portfolio of great services. Performance metrics are important to measure our outcomes, adjust, enforce governance, and align with our customers. Here's a quick look at service performance metrics alignment. These are valuable for all of the service owner roles, can really help us as we move into this new world. The KPIs cascade down in a pyramid from the customer to the service owner to the providers. KPIs become SLAs, and SLAs become OLAs as we go down. And then all the OLAs roll up into SLAs, which deliver the KPIs. So you can see how the customer and all the providers are linked. In order to deliver a quality service, we need a service owner. Asking someone in IT to volunteer for that makes everyone take a step backward. It's new, different, and feels like a lot of responsibility and visibility. And guess what? That's true. Even more, what is the job and how do I do it? Here's a quick look at the service owner's dashboard we've developed in our Service Portal and Catalog. It includes information on customer sat, quality, availability, delivery, as well as who my customers are and what they're doing with me. If I am the service owner, I can easily see these folks and what they're asking for. The idea behind it is to make it the one place where the service owner goes to both reactively and proactively manage their service and interact with their customers every day. A good service owner dashboard can make it a lot easier for people to understand and embrace the role of service owner. Okay, so that's it for our presentation today. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and he's going to demonstrate some of these concepts in action in our Service Portal and Catalog.
Great. Thank you, Don. So I'm going to start where I often start. So I'm starting in our Self-Service Portal. This is built, as Don alluded to, on the Service Portal application within ServiceNow. So this is Helsinki. And this is a place that serves for our consumers to come in to learn information about our services, obviously submit service requests, and also track the status of those requests. I also want to highlight, too, that this is also an opportunity where we can use this portal as a way to push announcements, alerts, other prescriptive content to our consumers. And it's kind of, as Don's kind of wrapped this conversation, right, when we deal with things like Amazon in our personal lives, our expectations are that this portal can serve both from a self-help, from a self-solution and self-empowerment. So a lot of the things, leveraging things like chat, leveraging things like checking the status natively versus phone calls are certainly what we expect to see in this particular portal. Also along those lines, we kind of expect to be able to use these from a variety of different devices, right? So if I shrink this to, say, our iPhone kind of width, you'll see it adapts and adjusts to that size. For real estate purposes, some of the more detailed lists, like the navigator, moves kind of off canvas, where I can swipe open and close that. I can also access things like my favorites or searches that I've ran before, as well as some of my historical activity. So I can use this on any number of devices and still interact with that service catalog. So I'll spend a lot of my time today kind of in this area that I want to, and primarily because this is what we're kind of pushing in this particular theme, in this particular portal, as kind of the top things that someone like myself would be looking for answers or for shortcuts. So some of the things that I'm seeing in this area are, I can come in and maybe some of these are knowledge articles that help me self-set up certain things, like maybe I want to be able to set up two-step authentication. So I can come out and find a knowledge article that gives me details about that particular setup that I can follow kind of step by step. If something doesn't work right in regards to this, I can either log a comment down here, or I can also submit a ticket in regards to this. Is this not solving my problem? And then there's contextual relevance when I submit this incident, that it was in context to this particular type of thing I was trying to set up. Further, if I'm looking for other self-solutions, I can dig deeper into just more of a broader area, looking in the knowledge base for possible answers. And some of the first things that happen on this page are that it's suggesting things for me. And this is based off of who I am in the organization, records that I viewed, services that I'm subscribed to, et cetera. So it shows me that. I can also obviously drill deeper into certain areas to find articles that are on a particular topic and find answers that might help me with those. So maybe a different direction I want to go in the I want to area. Maybe I have some questions pertaining to HR and benefits. And again, this is a service portal that doesn't have to be isolated to just IT, right? So this could be finance, accounting, et cetera, in this case HR. So I can come in here and look for answers to some of the questions I might have pertaining to HR. I can submit a question, or maybe I'd rather actually talk interactively. So I can start a chat session with an HR specialist to help me with those particular questions. If now is not a convenient time, I can also go the route of scheduling an appointment with the specialist, which then looks at calendars and possible appointment windows that I can then select, and then have that one-on-one consultative kind of engagement with the HR specialist to help answer my particular questions. Kind of another just self-help kind of topical area. So I showed you kind of the two-step authentication article, but also some of the other things we can do with this content is push more content-rich media like embedded videos. So maybe there's some new technology we're rolling out. We want to push our training and technology demos and announcements kind of through video feeds. We can obviously consume those and learn about these more interactively from kind of these embedded content. So I'm going to shift to a different session to show kind of the next one. And so the area I wanted to kind of get into next is this password reset. And I want to hit on password reset mostly because it still comes up as a common driver for interaction to service desk, and one of those areas that we want to automate and push quick answers to our consumers. So I'm going to go through kind of how password reset works here. So I'm logged in as someone, Alice Smith. And one of the first things that can happen once I've logged in, and this is really to set up password reset going forward, is I can come out here and if I'm not yet enrolled in the tool, then I need to go through and register myself as a kind of my security questions and my verification information, which in this case I've already set up my phone. I've already validated that I can indeed receive SMS messages onto my phone. But the area I haven't done is I haven't set up my security questions. So this is the first thing I'd want to do here. I'm just going to put in kind of my last 5 of my social. I'm just going to say the time I was born was 8 a.m. And then we'll put in something else that I can remember here. I'll just say musical genre is rock. And so then I'll register this. And what did I miss here? And I'll say Mountain Time. Maybe that needs to be 4 characters or more. So now I'm enrolled. So now if I were to somehow forget my password, right, I can come back out to kind of the portal, and one of the shortcuts that I have out here is this: I can't get to my account, I'm locked out, or my password's not working. So I can click here, and this is going to take me to this password reset kind of interface, which then prompts me for some inputs. I'm going to put in my email address. I'm going to claim that I am not a robot. And so I need to prove this, which is always the hardest part of this, is proving that I'm actually not a robot. I guess I didn't. So I guess I passed that test. And the next test here is going to send me an SMS message, which I'm going to intercept over here. So this is my verification code that I've got that would come to me via SMS. Make sure I don't have an extra character there. And then this is where I have to remember what I typed, but I think I put rock, and then I think I put 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So assuming I did this right, so now I've actually gone through and I've validated who I am. So I can either, if my account were locked, this is where I could come in and say unlock my account and I'd be back in business. or in this case I can say go ahead and reset my password. And this is where behind the scenes automation is taking place to adjust and adapt and update my password in my systems. Now I've got a new temporary password that I can try. And just to validate, I will come in here. So I'm in, and I'll just reset my new password. So a few steps to that process, but basically going to show you kind of basically all end-to-end that you can enroll, you can get your passwords reset. And this obviously is extending me, getting me access into ServiceNow, but that same process, the same interface, the same kind of portal experience could cover across all your various applications and can be configured to have different security questions for one versus the other. All right, so let me go back to, we'll go on another example here. Since I'm sticking to my I want to list, I want to go another direction on here. So let's say I'm looking for software. So I can say let's go get software, which takes me to my list of software. I can here filter my list. Maybe I'm looking for specifically Adobe software. And this is the software I'm looking for. I'm just going to pop this out into a separate window so you can get the full screen view. And for this item that I'm looking to order, this is or buy is interesting. It has a couple aspects I'm going to kind of hit on. And one is there's a price here, so there's an actual license associated with this particular software. So some of the first things that go into this input of this form is I need to validate how I'm going to basically pay for this particular software. In this case, I can either pay through a purchase order, and I can put in a specific purchase order number, or I can charge it back to cost centers, which in our case are cost centers that are managed in our financial system, which in this case is SAP. So assuming I go the SAP route, some of the things that happen on this particular form is, for one, I can put in and spread this across multiple cost centers. Maybe I want to kind of do a 60-40 split here. Kind of spread this across a couple cost centers. And you'll notice I can't submit my order at this point because I need to validate and verify my accounting information and payment information before I can proceed with my order. So obviously something similar that Amazon does as well. We want to make sure we have full information. We can fully process this activity based off of getting the inputs, but also not trying to overwhelm the consumer with information that they have to fill in. So in this case, I'm validating my information. It's behind the scenes, reaching into our SAP system, checking whether or not these are valid cost centers so that we can ensure everything's going to run smoothly on the back end. One of my cost centers was incorrect, so I'm going to change that to something else. And now I've got green checks all across the board. The next area is I can actually get this software in a variety of different ways. It's defaulting to pushing the software via SCCM to my workstation as kind of the preferred way. And it's also defining the workstation to my defined machine that I have within kind of my profile. So a couple things I can do with this. I could maybe choose to change this to a different computer. Maybe I want to actually push this to software I'm buying on behalf of this other computer for Beth. Notice it's flagged as a Windows 10, so I need to kind of verify some of the specifications of this particular software, that it does indeed work with that machine. All looks good there, so I'm going to mark that as done. And maybe instead of a push, maybe download is my preferred option, so I'm going to choose download instead. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And then we'll dig in and look at the workflow here on this item. And I'm going to drill in a little further. We'll go to the request item. And the workflow here, if I go to the workflow tab, it's pretty basic workflow. Basically, there's some authorization activities that have to take place, and there's some deployment activities, and then we're complete. A relatively simple process. First of all, as a consumer, I can see basically my request is in a kind of holding state. It's waiting to be reviewed and approved by somebody, which in this case is the approver for the cost centers that I put in. So just to show maybe a little more detail behind this, I'm going to shift out of the self-service view and kind of show you the workflow from a detailed perspective. So these are all the inputs we key in. And if I show workflow, the way this guy works is it's a very variable workflow in that based off of the payment method, in my case I was charging back through SAP. If I chose purchase order, then this step here that's in green would go a different route. So in essence, it's calling a separate workflow unique to what the payment method is. So it can have a very standardized process across how we do authorization and distribution of software, but the variables or the variances come in how we authorize it as well as how we distribute it. In this case, software download versus software push. Just to kind of show this a little further, let me go in and approve on behalf of Amos. Amos goes and approves this. Everything looks good. And then when we refresh this workflow, we'll see that this flow has been completed. Everything's been approved and authorized. It went through and checked whether or not we have enough inventory in our licenses for this particular software. If we didn't, we'd have an activity to perform to replenish that stock. And then since in our case we chose software download, it's calling a separate workflow specific for doing a download, which then distributes that software or distributes the information to me via an email as to what my download link is. And then lastly, the back end of this workflow, it's registering some information about an entitlement for me in that particular software, as well as pushing back information to SAP for actual payment processing. So I like to kind of show this one and kind of counter, or I guess to kind of align with Don's slides and points to kind of hit on that three constituents, kind of the balanced design of making sure that we kind of support an easy interface for the consumer, but also answer and support the requirements of management and governance. So we've got financial accountability, we've got asset management happening in here. Right, we've also got checks and balances for replenishment and authorization, all happening within a workflow that's relatively easy on the consumer to order. So let's go another route. We do one other kind of example of automating actions kind of for a customer. And so we'll request another service here. And again, I've got my suggestions up here of things that kind of suggested to me based off of things I've ordered before, as well as things that are featured. I can dig deeper into my different catalogs to kind of find what I'm looking for. And in this case, the one I'm actually looking for is requesting access to our software product called Concur. And one thing that's a little different about this form than the last one that I did is you'll see there's a little area over here that says it's part of an overarching business service of expense management. So if I want to learn more about this service and what I'm actually subscribing to, I can click on that, which will take me to kind of the service tombstone or service brochure for our expense management service. And here's where I can, in essence, we're providing transparency of what the service is, kind of what's in scope, what's out of scope, what's being offered and committed to, as well as any service-related price or costs that go with it, and a health and status information of how all this service is performed, as well as transparency about feedback, ratings, and a score of this. This is also where I can learn and self-solve some issues kind of contextually relevant to this service. Maybe I have some questions related, how do I log travel expenses, or if I'm the first time into this, what do I do? So those are some areas where I can learn some more information to navigate using this particular service. So in this case, let's go ahead and request access. And we'll see a couple things kind of happen with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and, pretty simple form, there's no inputs on this, but I'm just going to submit this and say I do want access. This one drops me straight into kind of a workflow tracker, and the reason for this is that this particular workflow is one that has no human involvement. There's no approvals, there's no tasks. The only place where we get humans get involved is if there's actually some sort of issue or deviation with the actual setup activities. And so I'm kind of seeing as it's kind of going through. So the first couple things it's going to do, it's going to reach out to our identity management system, create an account for me in our Concur software. I can see that it's already done that through the notes. It's going to reach into our Active Directory environment, add me to a couple of different groups. You can see it's done that. It's going to validate, do some checks and balances, make sure everything's looking good, and then deliver my account information. And then lastly, it's going to kind of ask me for, is everything working like I would expect? And I can say, no, things aren't working like I would expect, and push information back. Or I can say, yes, this is indeed set up as I would expect, and close it. And just to confirm that this did indeed work, I've got my identity management tool out here where I've got my different apps that I have access to, and I can now see that through the back end it did actually add me to the Concur application, which I could then launch and start using. So maybe everything looks good. I'm going to mark this as complete. All complete. So just to kind of hit on this one last part that happens in this workflow as well, is if I were to, well, I guess I'll go a different way. If I were to go to the service catalog, another thing that happens here is, once this page paints, under My Services, one thing that's going to now show up in this list is I should see expense management here, and I do. The other thing, when I go look at the details of this page, it loads here in a second, I'll show that I'm now a subscriber of this particular service. So, and obviously this can then hit on notifications that are sent to me, information about service changes, service updates can all be communicated, as well as the suggestions or other information that's kind of catered or tailored to me can be adjusted based off of my being linked as a user of this particular service. So one other part of this, let me close this tab here real quick. So on the other side of this, there is a service owner, which in this case conveniently is this mother session I was using for Alice Smith. She is the service owner for this expense management service. So she just got an alert that said she has a new subscriber. So she can kind of see that obviously somebody had just subscribed to this particular service. Come into our kind of management dashboard, alerts related new subscribers, as well as any kind of alerts pertaining to the commitments that we have and whether or not we have new incidents or issues that are near breach would show up here in my alerts area. I can suppress and hide these. I can also then in this case look at things like service health of my service. If I had any other dependent services or configuration components, I'd see those here as well. I can also look at the history of my kind of tracking to my different targets, which are pertaining to availability, resolution, and kind of delivery targets. If I want to, I can hone in on one area. Maybe I want to look at just resolution targets and kind of see how I'm trending. Other information that I'm going to look at or care about are more qualitative information around service feedback and how well people are liking the quality of our service. And the notable thing here is we don't have any negative feedback recently submitted related to this service, so that's a good sign. The other things I can do on this page, I can make some other adjustments to our offerings, what shows up as knowledge articles on the tombstone, what things are requestable, as well as see my subscribers. So those are all options for me. So that kind of covers what I wanted to kind of show today. I hope this was helpful, and I thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. I like some of that new look and feel in the service owner's dashboard they had there. That was pretty sharp.
Thanks.
So you're very welcome. So here's some possible next steps if you found any of this interesting. You might be interested in our advanced self-service portal and catalog, which runs on both CMS and Service Portal. It's available as a fully functioning self-service demo from our website. It's fun. It's easy to use. There are over 1,000 who have signed up to demonstrate it. You can get your own login. Just follow the banner directions, and you can be using it in 5 minutes. Or you can download a demo version of the code from the ServiceNow store, because that's where it is sold. Perhaps you might be interested in establishing a better sort of customer-centric service catalog direction, high level for your organization. One thing you might consider, take a deeper look at our 2-week service catalog strategy and roadmap offering. There's a whole bundle of things that come with it, and it is delivered. There's 3 days of workshops, but it's all done inside of 2 weeks. And it is guaranteed. If you're not satisfied, you don't pay for it. Last, perhaps you are interested in a better, more cost-effective way to meet your ServiceNow demand. Please check out our entirely new way of delivering services with Evergreen Evolve. So that's all we have to present today, and we're going to open it up for questions if we have received any.
We do have some questions, Don. I've got a couple of questions, Jeff, for you. These two are from Charles, and he wants to know how you handle requesting a service for multiple persons. That's his first question.
Yeah, so certainly, so a couple of different options with there. One, the actual catalog item or the requestable item form could have multiple recipients on there. There are some, and the other option that we've seen is there are some options in terms of the kind of checkout or cart area of the portal and the application where you can say, take this particular request or this particular catalog item and request it for this list of users. And so there are some options there. I'd say it's not super common, but there are some ways to support kind of taking a request and spreading it across multiple users. And the end result tends to be kind of a separate request for each user is typically the preferred way to handle it, so each user can kind of track their progress and see their updates.
Okay, great. And another question, is there an app interface for mobile devices like an iPhone or an Android?
So there is. So this is not through Evergreen, but this is ServiceNow itself. So ServiceNow has an installable app that you can get from the Apple Store or the Android. I don't know what's called an Android, but in essence, an installable app on there. And that app then, once you launch it, has the ability to connect to a service portal site. So basically what you do is you're in essence connecting to the site as if you're going through the browser to it on the phones, but it's all embedded or wrapped within that application. And the other benefits the application brings is it does have things like push notifications and also using device kind of components like GPS and camera and so forth.
Okay, great. Jeff, another question for you. Says, so you have to use the Service Portfolio plugin to get all of this, right?
So not entirely. I mean, so certainly some of the parts I showed in the demo today, like the expense management tombstone, the definition of offerings, and kind of that service manager's dashboard, that is underpinned by the Service Portfolio kind of plugin and some of the tables that get introduced and data that gets introduced from managing that. If you didn't activate it, our application can still work in that environment. It's just you wouldn't have those service tombstones within. You wouldn't have the service manager dashboard. You'd still have the ability to submit requests, get help, check the status of those requests. So there's just, in essence, a feature or a part of the kind of portal experience that would be kind of subtracted if that plugin isn't activated.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Another one is what was demoed the ServiceNow password reset application or something that Evergreen created?
So it was so what I demoed was native functionality in ServiceNow and with their password reset application. We framed it within the service portal so the experience would be consistent with other self-service use cases. One other just note, in the demo example, I was not selecting the type of application or system that I wanted to reset. But as I kind of mentioned when I did the demo, this could be, you can use that same kind of interface and experience and way to validate to go across, resetting your Active Directory password, but also many different applications within the enterprise and kind of have that consistent way of validating your identity and unlocking your access to your variety of systems.
Great. Another one, Jeff. Sorry, Don. Jeff, if we have a service such as an employee, yeah, I know, we leave you out. No one wants to talk to you. If we have a service such as an employee onboarding with multiple sequence tasks, are the delivery expectations set and communicated for each of the tasks?
I'd say from a customer perspective, I'd say no. A customer should have kind of an overarching expectation of when they can expect that entire service to be complete. It's kind of like Don mentioned with Amazon. Amazon Prime, you're going to get your delivery in 2 days. They don't tell you that we're going to do step 1 in 20 minutes, step 3 in a day, step 4 in 5 minutes. All you really care about from a consumer perspective is you get it within those two-day kind of expectation window, right? We might through the status, communicate some of the milestones like your package has been shipped, right? But ultimately, from a consumer perspective, what matters most is the completion of that entire service. I will say from the provider governance side of the equation, right, we would have OLAs and proactive controls to make sure that any of those tasks that are critical path tasks to that workflow are delivered within those time frames so that we can overall meet the customer's expectation.
Okay, great. I've got one more question. So last call for any of you who are typing away, please submit your question in the chat or the questions panel. And Jeff, again for you, if we have a separate site for requesting access, how would that fit into your solution?
So, I mean, it's a fairly common requirement for, say, the setup of a ServiceNow portal to have kind of links out to other sites, an intranet site, or maybe a separate procurement self-service portal. And usually the strategy that's employed is to, for one, kind of style the portal so that there's kind of a blend between transitioning from one site to the other so it's not too jarring to the user. And ideally make it to where they don't realize they're being redirected elsewhere. ServiceNow does provide some mechanisms where you can do things like set up catalog items that are links out to other systems, as well as kind of so when you do searches for things or browse for results, we can kind of redirect them to those appropriate places to order them. So they might still see, say, an iPad in their search results, but when they click on it, it actually takes them to, say, the procurement system, or in the case of this requesting access for Concur might pump me out to a different system to actually submit that request.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. Doing a quick look, I don't see any other questions, so I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. You will receive a recorded copy of this event as well as a link to download the slides no later than tomorrow. Please check your email. It will be coming from the ReadyTalk address that you received your login information. Also, we're going to have another webinar at the end of the month, and I will be sending emails out for that. And you can also check the resources page of evergreensys.com. You'll find the new webinar information there, as well as recordings of all our past events. And as Don mentioned, a lot of this today was high level, so if you want to dig into some of the details in these different areas, visit evergreensys.com and go to the resources tab. Thank you again, and we look forward to having you join us soon. Take care.